This week's releases includes Metroidvanias, roguelites, shooters, ARPGs and more, so let's begin with Beyond the Ice Palace 2, technically the sequel to a game from 1998 which was on the Commodore 64, being an action platformer where you play as the cursed king on a quest to reclaim his stolen throne. It is tagged with Metroidvania, although the developers don't describe it as such, where you are exploring what appears to be an interconnected map with plenty of secrets and shortcuts to unlock, along with sick-looking combat, platforming and traversal abilities, with a throwback pixel art look as well and should be of interest. A neat-looking first-person title is Hauntsville, having a cursed west setting, combining survival game elements like crafting and building your own homestead with survival horror elements, as well as intense first-person combat using old-timey weapons against all sorts of monstrous enemies. You have to venture out to scavenge for resources in the haunted town, bringing supplies back to your home to craft, upgrade and cultivate the land, while fending off creatures drawn from North American folklore and offers a fresh take on survival games. This video is brought to you by The Little Pixel That Could, a 2D precision platformer where you take control of a daring pixel on a unique mission to erase the browser history of its enigmatic owner, navigate a digital world filled with hard drives, firewalls and glitch-infested data streams, overcoming intense platforming challenges while unlocking new abilities to master. Beyond the action, the game weaves a compelling narrative about piecing together fragmented memories from the hard drives, which slowly uncovers the motive of the owner's final wish to delete his browser history. The minimalist, retro-inspired visuals keeps the focus on the fast-paced platforming, so if this sounds intriguing, try the free demo on Steam and add The Little Pixel That Could to your wishlist. The voxel-based first-person crafting sandbox title, Voxile, was successful on Kickstarter, obviously drawing comparisons to Minecraft, and is a voxel-based first-person shooter role-playing game that combines survival elements with ray-traced graphics, giving it a modern feel. You are exploring the voxel world, trying to investigate various mutated wildlife and what went wrong, but does seem to have a bit more structure, with questing, crafting, looting, building and combat, allowing players to destroy and create within the environment, but is not a full-on throw you into the game and figure it out yourself kind of structure. It will have co-op support and does look alright, even if voxels are not my favourite art style, but should be an early access release of note. Another game which is not exactly my cup of tea but has to be acknowledged is ASYLUM, a first-person horror adventure game that is, of course, set in a mental institute. You play as an ex-patient, plagued by unsettling visions, navigating the decaying corridors of this massive asylum while uncovering its dark history, interacting with other characters and confronting horrifying revelations. Interestingly, this is not a survival horror game with combat, like most of these other games tend to be, instead emphasizing exploration as you get to know every nook and cranny of the location, solving puzzles and piecing together the narrative from scattered clues. It draws upon the work of H.P. Lovecraft and classic Euro horror films from the 1980s, having a very creepy atmosphere crafted to evoke dread and suspense, so if you love horror games, this is definitely of interest. Love indie games? Sign up to my newsletter to get a weekly dose of what's hot, along with some news and of course, weekly game giveaways, so if interested, link is in the description below. A title that is kind of crazy as a concept is Cheaters Cheetah, a multiplayer first-person shooter with a twist, since it was designed with a cheat maker and gives you access to such tools in the game. If you ever played a multiplayer shooter like Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, Apex Legends and more, and ran into cheaters, this is what it's like on the other side of the fence, giving you access to wall hacks, aimbots and spinbots, allowing you to see through walls or basically to have perfect aim. However, given that every single player has access to these, it levels the playing field so to speak and might actually result in an added layer of strategy required as you want to get around these cheaters, challenging the concept of a competitive shooter, so let's see how it does. Other games begin with the 1.0 release of Auto Sale Life, a simulation game that centers around the world of vehicle sales. Work your way up from salesman to the owner of a burgeoning dealership, and then on your way to your very own automotive empire. You must navigate the challenges of buying, refurbishing, and selling vehicles to build a reputable business, requiring you to assess market trends, negotiate with customers, and manage finances effectively. This simulation aspect even extends to outfitting your office, which affects the clientele you attract, as well as the player's home in the game, whether you are up to your eyeballs in mortgage debt or prefer to lead a more fiscally conservative life, with an open world to explore as well, and has impressed so far in early access. Another creepy title of note is Centum, one of the most interesting releases of the week, since this is a narrative adventure game but one that has an unreliable narrator, making you question the game's reality and your place in the world. Trapped in an enigmatic environment, your primary goal appears to be to escape, but is that truly the goal? Where the game continually prompts introspection about your true purpose. It has a non-linear narrative, with each decision influencing the storyline's progression and outcome. Solve a series of puzzles, and make decisions on moral dilemmas, each designed to blur the lines between truth and deception. Also having fantastic art and creepy designs, looking kind of like Slay the Princess in concept, and is from the same publisher, so maybe they saw something in this game and is the hidden gem of the week. This next title is a spin-off of a game named Stuffer Case from 2023, which is fairly popular but I had no idea about, where that was a detective mystery title, but Dice Eater, a supernatural mystery card game, is a strategy card game instead. Set in the 1960s, engaged in a high-stakes card game infused with supernatural abilities, and seems Inscription-like in presentation, although it might be more straightforward than that. This next title is from developer Inkle of Heaven's Vault and Overboard fame, who are releasing Expelled this week, a narrative-focused detective adventure game set in 1922 at a girls' boarding school in England. The school prefect has been pushed out of a window and you are the prime suspect. To avoid expulsion and, I don't know, jail time or something, you must navigate the school day, interact with fellow students, and uncover the true culprit, but thus frame itself as a next-gen visual novel, since you can also find someone else to take the blame by going the more evil route. The game emphasizes replayability, allowing you to experiment with different strategies and actions in each playthrough, where you can gossip, lie, steal, and manipulate your fellow students, but need to avoid getting caught in your lies. As such, it seems to be expanding upon the systems and mechanics in Overboard, and given the pedigree, will be of interest. This week also sees the release of Fate Reawakened, a dungeon-crawling action RPG that has been described as Diablo meets Zelda for kids, offering a much more family-friendly version of the ARPG, and combines and enhances the 4 games in this series, where I have heard great things about them and is worth a look. HEXAROMA Village Builder is a city building simulation that combines strategic planning with a soothing gameplay experience. You are tasked with constructing and managing a village on a hex grid where each building interacts uniquely with its surroundings. You need to be thoughtful about placing structures in order to optimize resource management and village growth, and as you progress, you'll unlock new building packs, introducing fresh challenges and opportunities for expansion. There's also a dynamic weather system and a day-night cycle, which adds depth to the simulation, and thus follow in the footsteps of games like Islanders and Dofromantic in being a chill city builder. Another city builder of interest is Kingdom of Cards, this time being a card-based title that blends deck building with urban development. You are collecting and playing cards to construct various structures, having to manage resources and to expand your settlement. Each card represents different buildings or action, with the strategic use of these cards being crucial for successful city planning. There are some roguelike elements here, where each playthrough presents new challenges and opportunities, ensuring a fresh experience every time, and will be for fans of the genre. Just a quick one here in the Xbox port of MULLET's MADJACK, a fast-paced first-person shooter that combines roguelite elements with a unique time-based mechanic, which was one of the best games of 2024. Set in a dystopian cyberpunk future, you are battling your way up a skyscraper, having to eliminate the adversarial billionaires in order to save the girl, where you need a dopamine hit from killing an enemy every 10 seconds or you will die, which pushes the action, so Xbox players, you are in for a treat. A very cute puzzle game is Nekograms, in which you are putting cats down for their nap, having to move the cat and cushions within a targeted number of moves in order to 3 stars a level. Mechanics here are inspired by nonograms and sliding puzzles, where I do enjoy those and this looks cute so it gets on the list. A fun, chaotic, physics-based multiplayer party game is Oblin Party, no, that's not a typo, in which you play as these strange orb creatures with elastic arms used to swing, slingshot and parkour around various maps, as well as to defeat your opponent. The thumbsticks control each arm individually, which have to be used in combat, either bare-fisted punching of opponents or wielding an array of weapons such as a giant hammer, also having a wide variety of level layouts and should be fun with friends. A game that quite obviously follows in the footsteps of Stacklands is OrbHand, a similar kind of card-based management title, but instead of using villagers to gather food and construct buildings, you instead play as a wizard, building his magical tower and defending it from demonic forces, but does also have a village building element. As these games tend to begin, it starts off rather innocently with just the wizard card and an orb card, where the two interacting will generate mana, which is the basic currency for the whole game. Mana is used to purchase booster packs for new cards, constructing new buildings, acquiring resources and crafting spells, where you will eventually be stacking cards to cast spells, gather resources and recruit allies to battle against the undead, demons and more, and looks rather charming. In addition to the first-person, real-life job simulation title like Supermarket Simulator, there have been a trend towards first-person job simulation horror titles as well, case in point being Order 13, where you awaken in a dimly lit warehouse and are assigned the task of packing orders while something lurks in the dark. You have to work swiftly and remain vigilant, ensuring your own personal safety while still protecting your cat, the sole source of comfort in this unsettling environment, where you can reinvest your earnings for better tools, which hopefully enables you to survive the next time around, kind of looking like single-player Lethal Company or something, but is still very creepy. The next big pot of gold that game developers and investment money seems to be chasing is the extraction game of the PvPvE variety, where you are battling CPU-controlled enemies to get valuable loot, but have to watch your back for other players, with another title in this space being OUTLAWED, a crime-themed first-person shooter set in a modern city dominated by gangs. You can choose to play solo or team up with your squad to search for valuable loot, where you need to extract or get out safely if you want to keep it. They talk about a massive 3km by 3km map with a variety of terrain and buildings, as well as mobility options to match, including zip lines, parachutes, and both land and water-based vehicles, although I cannot really find any information on this developer named Okami Studio, but they do have Bilibili and QQ links on their Steam page, so I'm guessing that it's a Chinese developer and might be not so indie, but I suppose falls outside of the traditional AAA space, which is why I gave it a mention. A neat-looking RPG is Songs of Rat, a grimdark title inspired by choose-your-own adventure books. You create a character and enter the ever-changing maze known as the Wreckage, a labyrinth filled with secrets of long-gone civilizations, facing strange human and inhuman enemies and uncovering hidden mysteries along the way. You have to choose your path wisely, upgrade your gear, find companion and discover the truth with a sick art style as well. I came across this title on the list of new releases and was intrigued, where it appears that That's Not My Neighbor has beat No, I'm Not Human to the punch when it comes to creepy, unsettling horror games about determining whether or not to let the character in front of you enter the building. In this game, you play as a doorman within a 1955 apartment complex besieged by doppelgangers, entities that mimic the residents with malevolent intent, so you need to scrutinize individuals seeking entry, discerning genuine tenants from those imposters, checking identification documents and cross-referencing details in a manner similar to Papers, Please, placing calls if necessary to the Department of Doppelganger Detection, and while not exactly looking like a horror game, does still give me the creeps. I do have a soft spot for rhythm games, especially weird and quirky ones like Travel on Pigeon, instead of the more classic Guitar Hero or Rock Band style titles, where in this game you play as a pigeon exploring various tourist destinations, prance and bop to the city's beat, collecting souvenirs that serve as health, while avoiding humans wandering around, each with their own movement patterns and looks pleasant. Another interesting release of the week is Vanguard Exiles, primarily because this is the next project from Richard Garfield, creator of Magic the Gathering, and is an auto-battler which is set in the post-World War I diesel punk universe where magic and technology intertwine, so definitely a unique setting. As a general, you command a squad of warriors, each with unique abilities, aiming to reclaim territories in a fragmented world. You have to deploy your troops and manage resources if you want to succeed, anticipating opponents' tactics and adapting to a dynamic battlefield that changes with each encounter. Victory depends on squad composition with complementary abilities, having 3 main factions, which are essentially dwarves, elves and humans, but twisted to fit in with the world and looks sick, certainly being of interest. Although Richard Garfield has faltered in video games, see Artifact for example, but then again was involved in Rogue Book, which was pretty successful. The, I suppose, clunkily named Witchroid Vania, A Magical Girl's Fantastical Adventures, is a Metroidvania game that follows Lily, a young girl aspiring to become a mage, with the Steam page giving me a gameplay trailer with Japanese voiceover and UI, so I'm going to assume that it's from a Japanese developer. You are exploring the world beyond Lily's hometown, battling enemies along the way in a classic fantasy world, so think goblins and bandits, with the order in which you explore the different areas being freeform, so it might be a true non-linear Metroidvania in that sense. You can become more proficient in magic, mastering fire, ice, wind and lightning, each with unique strengths and weaknesses to be used in specific cases against different enemies, along with traversal ability unlocks like flight with the help of your dragon companion or underwater breathing, looking kind of alright and might be of interest in the same way that Asted Libra Revision is. This one's for indie game developers. The free indie game marketing resources are ready, so sign up via the link in the description below to get it in your mailbox. I've had my eye on Aneurysm 4 for a little while, since this looks very interesting in concept, being a sandbox simulator set in a decaying dystopian metropolis where your choices significantly influence the fate of the city. As a spirit, a spectral entity nearing physical form, you can make choices to shape your path, such as aligning with factions such as the Cortex to stabilize the city, or join the scumbags or zealots to spread the rot and soul chaos. Or you could just remain neutral and engage in everyday activities like factory work. There's also a rich-poor dichotomy in the pros versus bankers, where, get this, it will have multiplayer support, so throw other players into the mix as well. Every action by all players have consequences, affecting the city's evolution and growth, where on a personal level, your survival hinges on earning credits through various jobs, which are essential for purchasing necessities, trading goods, or investing in property. On top of the other players, the force known as the Rot is a pervasive threat which visibly alters the city as it spreads, so it's a living sandbox that you get to experience and sure looks interesting. We also have the release of Wonder Stop, the next title from the developer of the Stanley Parable and the Beginner's Guide, who has formed a team named Ivy Road, which includes other people, choosing to make a cozy game with a twist. You play as Alta, a former undefeated fighter, who, after a series of defeats, seeks solace and healing by assisting Borrow, a cheerful tea shop owner in the middle of the woods. Together, you will operate the shop, engaging in almost farming or life sim style activities such as collecting and drying tea leaves, brewing various teas using a complex contraption, and interacting with a diverse cast of customers, each with unique stories and quests. It has a farming system, allowing you to plant seeds, cultivate hybrid plants, and harvest fruits used in tea preparation, with the complex multi-stage process of operating the tea-making machine possibly being a mindfulness exercise in itself, all while our heroine struggles with her own internal mental state. I wasn't quite sure what was happening with Odin Fall, a Viking-themed roguelite twin-stick shooter in a post-apocalyptic world where you fight robotic Norse gods, so much so that I left it off this year's list of upcoming action roguelites. But then, out of nowhere, the developer dropped an early access release date and it is out this week. You choose from multiple unique playable characters, including a moose, with the gimmick of being able to customize and build your own weapons from component parts, altering and tuning them exactly how you like to fit your playstyle. Other than that, this does appear to be a fairly standard roguelite, but the pixel art looks good and the action fast-paced, so I'm definitely interested in this. Swinging back the other way in terms of vibes is Call of Boba, a cozy pixel art adventure where our protagonist returns to their hometown to rescue a struggling boba tea shop. By day, you manage the cafe, crafting delightful drinks, farming ingredients, and engaging with a diverse array of customers, having a frantic pace if you want to keep all your customers happy. But then, as night falls, the town transforms, revealing a mysterious realm where you combat dreamlike adversaries using inventive boba-themed weaponry. As such, this is more Moonlighter in terms of structure, but does look also cute. And the developer has a name which I love in Tomatoes, so certainly give this a go. One of the sickest looking games that is on my radar is this action roguelike title where you control humanoid android soldiers, aka Labor, who can sit in giant mechs called arms, using this to explore the world after our main character awakens from cryo sleep after 1000 years and has to figure out what happened to the rest of humanity in Metal Bringer. This is the follow-up to Samurai Bringer, with both of these seeming to have Dynasty Warriors inspiration, looking absolutely fantastic and should be great. Watch this video for the best action roguelites.